encounters Preet Bharara goes to the theater and sees a familiar world on stage. At the opening night performance of Junk, a play about the insider trading scandals of the 1980s by the Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Ayad Akhtar, two of the characters on stage, a corporate raider and his lawyer, discussed a hostile takeover they were planning and a possible legal counterattack by the target company. "We just get rid of the evidence before they subpoena," the lawyer says. "Okay, great, do it," his client responds. "It's just, I'm your lawyer, Bob. You don't want your lawyer to have blood on his hands." As the client barks his retort, "Rawl, I pay you not to tell me things like that," a man sitting in the sixth row of the Thursday night audience chuckled knowingly. It was Preet Bharara, the former United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Though Mr. Bharara was just barely in high school during the go-go years of Michael Milken and Ivan Boesky, his own tenure as a United States Attorney from 2009 to 2017, when he brought to heel a new generation of Wall Street miscreants, most notably Stephen Cohen, lent a certain familiarity to the scenes unfolding in front of at Lincoln Center's Vivian Beaumont Theater. His handling of the Cohen case, in particular, in which Mr. Cohen's hedge fund, SAC Capital Advisors, pleaded guilty to insider trading and paid a record $1.8 billion penalty, made him something of a household name, landing him on the cover of Time, as well as on the list of its 100 most influential people of 2012, and even reportedly inspiring the character of Chuck Rhodes, played by Paul Giamatti, in Billions. A New Yorker 2016 profile, headlined "The Showman," in print, was more direct in the web version, "The Man Who Terrifies Wall Street." That fame only increased after perhaps the most dramatic event in his legal career, being forced out of his position by President Trump on March 11. Mr. Bharara went on the offensive almost immediately, posting his version of events on the Twitter account he had started only 5 days earlier. "I did not resign," Mr. Bharara stated. "Moments ago I was fired. Being the U.S. Attorney will forever be the greatest honor of my life." The tweet got 63,000 retweets and 133,000 likes. He now has 495,000 Twitter followers. Since that acrimonious parting, Mr. Bharara has begun to build a nascent media empire. In addition to signing on as a visiting professor at New York University School of Law, he is also a paid commentator on CNN, has signed a book contract with Knopf. "The thought of the July deadline for his manuscript is a bit scary," he said, and has started a podcast, Stay Tuned with Preet Bharara, with his brother Vinit, a technology entrepreneur. And he has kept up his gimlet-eyed observations of the Trump administration. "If Donald Trump fires Robert Mueller, he should be impeached," Mr. Bharara tweeted on October 31. At the Junk opening, Mr. Bharara, dressed in a boss suit and a canali tie, close to, but not quite the Brooks Brothers in Brioni uniform of the predatory Wall Street king cited in the play's opening lines, seemed as much a celebrity as the sum of the actors who had also been invited, among them Gretchen Mol, David Schwimmer, Jonathan Groff and Asif Manvi. As Mr. Bharara stood in the lobby during intermission, quickly downing a double vodka and tonic before the second act began, a steady stream of fans came over to pay tribute. "Thank you for your service. You have done great work. We need more people like you. I just wanted the chance to shake your hand." And at the after-party at Tavern on the Green, one particularly effusive woman said to Mr. Bharara, "You are a buoy in the roiled waters of these troubled times." "Does this kind of thing occur often?" Mr. Bharara was asked. "Yes," he said. "This is what happens when you are fired by the president." As he walked back to his seat, pointed the way by an usher who said she had once worked for Bear Stearns, Mr. Bharara noticed that the stage was now dominated by a huge Time cover featuring the image of the Stephen Pasquale, the actor playing the Michael Milken-like character. "My picture was better," Mr. Bharara said, laughing. Once seated, he said that he was enjoying the play, "It's quite well written," and added that one scene in particular seemed especially knowing about the world he once inhabited, one that showed a government informant fumbling his attempts to draw out incriminating statements from his boss in a wiretapped phone conversation. There is a lot of speculation right now about whether George Papadopoulos was wearing a wire, people saying that, if he wore a wire, he must have gotten good information, Mr. Bharara said of the man who recently pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI as part of the Robert Mueller investigation into the 2016